Good afternoon. My name is Sahil Parikh from Columbia University in New York, and I'm delighted to be here at the LINC 2020 meeting. We're here to talk today about the Magic Touch Sirolimus drug-coated balloon. And I'm pleased to be joined by Dr. Dirk Scheiner from here in Leipzig and Dr. Edward Choke from Singapore. It's a pleasure to be with these two thought leaders to talk about this new technology. So, Edward, you're one of the pioneers for this device all over the world. Tell us a little bit about this technology.
Well, sirolimus have been around for a long time, and you probably know this better than me because you're a cardiologist, and from the point of view of the cardiologist, you've moved on from paclitaxel to using sirolimus. And sirolimus is perceived as a better product compared to paclitaxel in terms of preventing stenosis of the vessel that you treat. The trouble with sirolimus is that it is difficult to coat onto the balloon. And then the second thing is that it is difficult to deliver to the target. And that is why, from the point of view of drug-coated balloons, we have at our disposal in the last 15 years just paclitaxel-coated balloons. However, Concept Medical have done two things to enable us to use sirolimus-coated balloon. First, they've managed to shrink the sirolimus particle. Sirolimus is, in its natural state, is 43 microns. That is far too big to be able to penetrate through the layers of the intima media into the adventitia. You need the particle to be at least 100 times smaller than that. So they've used the process of nanotechnology and the sonification to reduce sirolimus from 43 micrometers to 0.35 micrometers. That's the first thing they did. The second thing they did was that sirolimus is very hydrophilic, which means it's very easy to be washed down and it's difficult to deliver. So they've coated the sirolimus particle, once they've shrunk it, with a layer of phospholipid. And with this, they're able to coat the balloon and they're able to then deliver the sirolimus onto the vessel.
So that's really interesting. So it sounds like they've pulled a rabbit out of the hat.
Absolutely,
and
yeah,
have modified the drug in a way such that you can deliver it on a balloon. So now you've also had the privilege of being one of the early investigators with this device in humans. Tell us about your experience with that.
Yes, so I began using the Magic Touch Sirolimus-Coated balloon in 2017, and it became a formal study which was approved by our country's ethical review committee. And we started the ecstasy study and started enrolling patients in 2018. We enrolled 50 patients for this study. The study is still ongoing in terms of achieving its complete endpoint of 6 months. But we do have 40 patients which have reached the milestone of 6 months. The primary endpoint for this study was 6 months primary patency. So the important thing about our study is that the cohort of patients is challenging. And they were challenging for two reasons. The first is that it is a cohort of highly unfit patients, high-risk patients. So 90% of patients had diabetes. 1 in 5 had end-stage renal failure and they were already on dialysis. 1 in 4 has had previous myocardial infarction. 80% of them has had, ASA scores of either 3 or 4. The second thing about our challenging cohort of patients is that they are almost exclusively CLI patients. So 92% of them were Rutherford's 5 or 6s. And Wi-Fi scores were, more than 50% of them had Wi-Fi scores of 4 and above. And despite these challenges, the 6 months primary patency of Magic Touch in the overall number was 80%. And when we performed the subset analysis, the SFA 6 months primary patency was 88%. For BTK, the 6 months primary patency was 74%. And when you compare that with our previous experience using paclitaxel, the 6 months primary patency using paclitaxel-coated balloon in BTK lesions, we know is about 40%. So I'm very excited about these results. And to me, the primary patency of 74% in the BTK group is highly promising.
So Dirk, tell us, here in Germany, you have access to, it seems like, every possible technology, and there's a number of paclitaxel-coated devices. What's the appetite for another drug-coated balloon, and how are you feeling about sirolimus entering the space?
Yeah, I think sirolimus was always on top of a short list of drugs which could have potential for peripheral applications. We have had initially good results with short drug-eluting stents, for instance, in the tibial circulation. As a matter of fact, it was just a technical hurdle to get sirolimus on the surface of a DCB, which probably prevented that it had become available earlier. Well, in addition to that, of course, there is currently scrutiny around the safety of paclitaxel devices. Also, I'm personally still convinced that these are safe technologies. It becomes obvious that there is a need for a kind of next generation improved version of drug-coated balloon technologies. And I must say the concept, the technology behind the Concept Medical Magic Touch balloon is really appealing. As Edward has pointed out, they have done tremendous improvements to making sirolimus deliverable to the layers of the vessel wall. So that is very, very encouraging. And we are excited to get these products in our hand. And of course, it's an important target for future research.
Right. So to that end, it sounds like you've got something underway that you're thinking about from a clinical trial standpoint.
Of course. I think this technology deserves a very solid approach to be studied. We are actually planning, together with the manufacturer, but together with Ulf Teichgräber from the University of Jena, to run a head-to-head comparison of this new Magic Touch balloon against paclitaxel-coated balloons as a family. So we want to keep the trial open to all approved DCBs, paclitaxel-eluting DCBs, but we want to have a direct randomized comparison in a challenging cohort of patients with lesions in the femoral up to 30 centimeters. Look at standard endpoints, including patency, and of course also have a close look on the safety. So the study will be powered both for the for a kind of for a non-inferiority, for efficacy, and for safety, and this will be a large project with almost 500 patients being randomized.
Yeah, so it's a terrific design. So you're taking real-world patients who would be treated with standard of care, including long lesions, which had previously been excluded from all of these trials, and comparing them head-to-head.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. And so how long do you think it's going to take to enroll, and how many, and the primary endpoint is at 12 months, I presume?
Yeah, the primary endpoint is at 12 months, but I think we are expecting actually a very rapid enrollment phase, because I think there is a lot of excitement for this new technology, and the fact that we are opening the protocol also for longer lesions makes the trial potentially very enrollable.
Right.
In addition, the control arm also receives an active treatment, which is the paclitaxel-eluting device, which is in a way currently standard of care in our country. So we believe there are a lot of reasons why physicians and patients would decide to participate in such a study, because they have a real chance of benefiting from a next generation technology.
Right. Well, it's a very pragmatic design, which is refreshing, frankly.
Yeah.
I think a 2-to-1 randomization against PTA is unnecessary in this day and age.
Yeah.
So here in the United States, we're looking at this, and there's actually been a breakthrough designation from the FDA for below the knee as a first approach. And so, we're excited because, as you know well, there's really no approved device at this time that's specifically dedicated for below the knee. We've been using coronary stents off-label, and angioplasty and atherectomy in different combinations. And so we're excited to see what this can do for us in our patients in the below knee segment. And similarly, because there's such an unmet need, we're hopeful that we'll be able to enroll this relatively rapidly. There certainly is the appetite, I can see, from colleagues and other patients that we work with all the time. So we're hopeful that between the global efforts that we all represent, we'll have a lot more to talk about at this time next year. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention, and we appreciate your being with us here from LINC 2020. We look forward to talking to you more about the Magic Touch drug-coated balloon as we get more data in the coming year.